Now, when we're getting into this hand-me-down existence, right? This hand-me-down perceptual field. Obviously, there is a part of it that plays into our own level of consciousness. So when you have someone from a higher level of consciousness born into this world, if they're able to hold on to that purity and that innocence, right, they are able to see beyond what the Maya, right, the human state of mind perpetuates. You see that with science discoveries, right? There was this man, was Samuel Emilwise, is that what his name was? Where, he said, doctors should wash their hands before surgeries because, he recognized a correlation. He wasn't even a doctor or a scientist. He just recognized a correlation. He was working in the hospital. Maybe he was even a janitor. And I think he was working in the hospital and he realized a correlation between two different hospitals where these people who practiced more hygienic, practices before surgery had higher um, had lower mortality rates. And those who didn't had higher mortality rates. And when he expressed this idea to the other doctors, they laughed at him. They criticized him and they ridiculed him so badly that he ended up later in a mental institution. That's how strong consciousness, when it's tied down, when that awareness is held down by a certain level of consciousness, it's very hard to let go of old ideologies, of old ways of thinking. And at the same time, when you have someone with higher consciousness, despite, seemingly the whole world being against them, despite what everybody thinks and believes, they're able to perceive and see through it and see and recognize something different that goes against the grain. They're able to perceive higher, brighter things in the world than what is perpetuated by the collective, what the collective unconscious has all agreed upon that life is all about. They're able to see beyond it. Why? Consciousness enables them to do that. Higher states of consciousness. Now, what does that mean exactly? Higher states of consciousness. Well, when we look at lower states of consciousness, we can understand that lower states of consciousness have common conditions, have very common expressions. You see that people with lower state of consciousness, right? They tend to be very limited in what they can do in their life. Limited by their own minds, limited by their own emotions, limited by life. They're a victim of circumstance. They can't control anything. They're helpless. They don't know what to do. They have ADD, ADHD. They're very selfish, self-focused, self-centric. It's impossible for them to think of others, to do things for others. And it can make sense. If you're suffering a lot, how can you possibly think of someone else when you are trying so hard to escape your own suffering just to feel good? And also, what comes with lower states of consciousness is this sense of black and white, this sense of good and bad. And typically, the qualities that this person possesses, that's the lens by which they view life. It's if you get an innocent and pure child, they might not understand why people do certain things or why people exhibit certain behaviors. It might be confusing to them. Why? Because those qualities don't exist in them. Either they have not been formed yet by their personality, or they're of higher enough consciousness, right? They've collected all these different refractions of light, turn them into something more pure and complete, where they don't recognize this badness there, at least in the way that imposes judgment. When you have this pure awareness, you can see. And this seeing never comes with judgment. It is a stillness because the moment there is a ripple, the moment there is a disturbance in your being, you are interacting with that construct of your own ego, the construct of your own self, your own perceptual field. You are no longer operating from that still, complete awareness of God. The moment that stillness is taken from you, or more like disturbed by you. And that's when an emotion is applied. We'll take it, let's say that we have had a lot of experiences with, you know, dishonesty in our life. Maybe there's that character that exists within us. Maybe we've had a lot of dishonest people who have, been involved in our own life. So now every time you see someone act in an ambiguous way, you're automatically going to assign the character of dishonesty to that person without seeing them truly in their totality. And that assignment will come with its own emotions. It will come with its own volatility. It will come with its own feeling, distaste. It will create stress for you. It will disturb your peace. It will take away something from you the moment you assign something to that experience. Again, this is not related to seeing and common sense. A lot of people think that, if they don't want to place a judgment on someone, that means they have to accept everybody. They have to allow everybody to take advantage of them, everybody to act exactly as they are with them, to look down on them, to treat them poorly, and they should just take it. Why? Because they need to be compassionate and loving and non-judgmental of these people because they're God too. And that's just nonsensical. You can see the truth. You can see, right? If someone has a certain character, right? It's not a judgment to see it. If you're out in nature and you see like, a pink flower, to recognize it's a pink flower is not to have a judgment about the color pink. The judgment would be, oh, I hate that color. It's an ugly flower. That's a judgment. But still, it makes no sense, especially in the advancement of your own consciousness and for the goodness of others, to allow someone, if you see a bad quality within them, to allow them to use it, especially against you, to allow someone to take advantage of you. Sometimes that needs to be taken care of. Either you remove yourself from that situation, you get rid of that person from your life, or you change yourself. But again, sometimes environment is stronger than willpower. And until you're strong enough, higher enough in consciousness, where you can perceive through the smog, the deadness of the human mind, then you might need some environmental assistance to keep you uplifted and happy and bright and good.